Welcome to Reiwa Gaming Matt's way too late Games of the Year 2020 video.
Hello, everyone. Well, it's been about a month into the year, but it's finally time for me to go back to 2020 and give out my top 10 games of the year list for that year. Yes, I'm a little late, but I've noticed a few people have been kind of late this last couple weeks, so I'm not the only ones. That's good. But you see, the reason is I'm late is I wanted to finish a game or two just to make sure that all the games on my list really belonged where they did. This is a list I actually made at the end of the year, and I'm pretty satisfied with the list, although I did go back and forth on trying to decide which place should be which. And in the end, it turned out okay, I think. So I hope you enjoyed this list. Now, I just want to say before we begin a few rules, of course. Number one, it's very simple. Any game that was released in 2020, whether it was in Japan, America, or wherever in the world, counts. Remakes and remasters also count if there is considerable amount of additional content or considerable amount of like changes that make the game special in its own right. So that means that pretty much anything can that just came out this year really will count. The only thing you're not going to see a lot on this list, in fact, you're not going to see it all in this list, is the next generation titles. Unfortunately, in my playthroughs this past year of gaming, I only had about 10-20 minutes of playtime on the PlayStation 5, none on the Xbox Series X. So I just didn't get a chance to play any of the games that came out on the next generation systems, and many of the games that are cross generation. I did not play them on the PlayStation 4 because I want to play them on the PS5. So this list I think would have been very different had I had a chance to play a couple of those games that were available to me on the PS5 and the PS4 if I decide to play them. But I'm waiting for my PS5 to show up, which could be any day now, but hopefully we'll get talked about that later. But very simply put, these 10 games are the games that really made an impact to me. They were the games that I enjoyed the most. They are the games that I loved. And I want to say right now, of course, this is just my opinion. Everyone has their own opinion. Probably your favorite game is not going to be in my list. Maybe it is, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. It's just an opinion. If you don't like it, that's okay. If you like it, that's great. That's awesome. Wonderful. But definitely, I hope you enjoy what's to come. So let's just stop talking. Let's stop yakking. Let's get started with number 10. Number 10, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. Now, I know what you're thinking. Matt, is it kind of fair to put a compilation game with 51 classic games in a top 10 game list? Well, I kind of thought about that myself, especially since all these games are just classic board and card games that we've all played all of our entire lives. But Nintendo did a great job making a package of great, wonderful, classic games that anyone can enjoy at any time. This, of course, was a series that came out on the DS many years back, and now being on the Switch, they've included a lot more games than the original release of it. 51, of course, including a piano app, which I don't understand why it's there, but it's still pretty cool. This game is packed with some fantastic games to play. Games like the actual Mahjong, not just Shanghai Mahjong, but actual Mahjong, which is great. Shogi, chess, checkers, Chinese checkers. What else? Hanafuda. I love Hanafuda. Japanese Hanafuda is one of my favorite card games in the world. You have games like Texas Hold'em and Blackjack. You have even like metal type games, like games that you can play in arcades in Japan, like a fishing simulator, which is really cool. You have like a baseball, like a little tabletop baseball game to play on there as well, including some cool mechanics to like connect other switches together to make like big levels for like tank shooting games. For me though, the thing that really stood out, I am a huge fan of Hanafuda. It's my favorite thing. I just talked about just before, and I played that game alone so much. In fact, it was probably one of my most played games of the year on the Switch, if not the most played game on the Switch. And I just really enjoyed it. I think that Nintendo really knocked it out of the park. My only complaints were that every time you loaded a game, they had the intro video come up that you could skip. I wish they could have just done that only once and then having to see it again. And also, no Go. Ego, where is Go? I mean, I don't know why they didn't add that. They added Shogi into the game. They had Mahjong. They had all the classic Japanese games, but not Go. And I thought that was a little disappointing, but it wasn't disappointing enough not to put it in my top 10. It's an absolute fantastic title. It's great for its price, and especially in this crazy year that we had with the pandemic and all, it was a perfect game to have to play with, by yourself or with friends. So, number 10, well worth it. Good job, Nintendo. Number 9, Journey to the Savage Planet. Take one part Metroid Prime and take part two of like a Borderlands comedy type world, and you got Journey to the Savage Planet, where you are actually surveying a planet for possible exploration and possible, I think, colonization. And it is a crazy little game. It's really, really neat. It's a first person perspective game where you're going around scanning objects, trying to decide, find out more about the planet, trying to decide if it's a good place to be. It's really, really crazy, too, especially because the way that the world that you live in and the world you're exploring are both strange and mysterious. For instance, you go back to your ship and you see these emails that you come from this company that you're working for, which are very strange and weird. The TVs in the room play commercials for products that just seem out there, that you just can't believe. They're just so weird beyond belief, like a thing where you can like take old food and create like a living being. It's really, really strange. It's got that classic science fiction feel to it too, which is wonderful. And like I said, a lot of people like compare it to Metroid Prime because the mechanics really feel the same, the way of the scanning and the jumping and the first person exploration of it. It's a really nice game, and it's one of those games I think that came out at the beginning of the year and kind of slipped under the radar. It got a lot of press when it came out, but it kind of disappeared. But it kind of stayed with me the whole year, and it's a game that I still enjoy to this day. It's definitely worthy of a place on my top 10 list, and if you haven't played it, it's definitely a great one to try out. So, Journey to the Savage Planet, number 9, wonderful game. Next, number 8, Yakuza Like a Dragon. So I said that I'm late on my list, and the reason I'm late on my list is primarily this game. Yakuza Like a Dragon is the 7th game, or, well, it's technically Yakuza 7 in Japan, although it's not the 7th game of the series. There's been more than that. But it's a brand new start for the series with a brand new character in Kasuga Ichiban, who is probably the most interesting protagonist I've seen in a game in quite a long time. He's hilarious, he's charming, he's loyal, and he's a great person to play as in this game. You play as him as he is. He's put in a situation. He's a Yakuza member. He grew up as an orphan on the streets of Kamurocho, which of course is the Kabukicho-like place in the Yakuza series. He eventually leads a life of being a part of the Yakuza, and he has to take a fall for another member of the group. Go to jail in order to make sure that the other member of the group stays out and doesn't get in trouble. And he does it wonderfully. He does it, because he wants to, because he's so loyal to his leader, who has actually come out and done so much for him and be like kind of a surrogate father to him. And then as he gets out, it turns out his Yakuza family have abandoned him, and actually his leader shoots him, and he finds himself in loneliness in the world of Yokohama, which is very interesting because we've never seen Yokohama in a Yakuza game, and his adventures are just absolutely wonderful. You see this like story of him going through Yokohama and discovering this crazy Yakuza conspiracy of taking over not only Yokohama but even the entire world of Japan and the politics of Japan. It's a fantastic story. Kasuga Ichiban is probably like I said, my favorite new protagonist I've seen in a game in a long time. I actually didn't like the character when they introduced him many years ago as part of the cell phone game. I thought he looked a little too goofy, but he actually is very lovable and very cool. And this game is really, really neat because the Yakuza series has been known as an action, like, beat-em-up game series for a long time. But for some reason, the producers of this game really wanted to try a Dragon Quest-style RPG, turn-based battle system. And the funny thing about that is that even the character mentions Dragon Quest, how much he loved Dragon Quest. And it's like every battle in his mind is like a Dragon Quest battle. So the people you fight against turn into these, like, crazy characters that like just resemble like a monster in a game, but like in this strange world that is the Yakuza world. And this game is just laugh out loud funny at times, but it's also touching. The story is really great, and once you get to the ending, it's really grips you. One of the best stories I played this year, and I put this game at number 8 when I made this list at the end of the year, and I wasn't finished with Yakuza Like a Dragon at the time. And when I finished this game a week or so ago, I really considered switching this with another title. I really considered putting this into my top 3. And I didn't because I had already made my list, and I kind of decided I had settled on that title being at that number. But really, having played it, having played all the side quests, having played all the mini games, this game is packed with so much fun. 100 hours of fun, no doubt about it. I feel this game probably should be higher than even I put it. It's definitely a special title. And if you've never played the Yakuza series, it's a great way to start because while the Yakuza storyline has gone on for a very long time, this is a new protagonist, it's a new beginning, and that makes for a great way to start this series if you don't want to go through all the other titles, because there's quite a lot of titles and these games are long, but absolutely one of the best games of the year, and is getting a PS5 version coming out soon with a free upgrade. I can't wait to play that. Definitely going to be playing some parts of the game again, but definitely worthy at number 8. Number 7, Star Wars Squadrons. EA did something amazing this year. They not only brought back a fantastic thing with bringing a Star Wars flight simulator to the world of gaming, they decided to not only do that, but do it in VR. Star Wars Squadrons on PlayStation VR is a game of my life dream, I guess you can say. It's something I've been looking forward to for a long time. And it is amazing to play this game in VR, to find yourself inside an X-Wing or a TIE fighter or the numerous numbers of other ships in the game that you can be part of. There's this really interesting story that, this game takes place after the fall of the Empire, the Death Star destroyed, and Return of the Jedi. So it's in that time period after that, before the Force Awakens stuff. So you get all that classic Star Wars, not characters, but they're like ships, and then the look of the world, which is really, really nice. The battles are fantastic, and as I said before, when you're in VR, you really feel like you're a part of this game. You really feel like you're a part of this world. Playing this game in 2D on a TV just doesn't cut it. It's too small, the screen, to see what you're doing, and the cockpit fills up everything, and it just doesn't feel right. But when you're in the cockpit in VR, everything just comes at you in just full scale, and it's unbelievable. And to be able to be in an X-Wing and shoot TIE fighters down and take part in Star Wars, dogfighting battles in space, as actually being in there is fantastic. Now, of course, they did this with Battlefront many years ago as a special VR mission, but to have a full game for it is fantastic. Also, the fact that they released this game at a cheap price was unbelievable. This was EA, and they were releasing it really cheaply. They said there would be no DLC. They said they were going to give you the whole game up front, but this was something where fans were so happy with this game. They wanted more DLC. They wanted more, ships and more things to do. And guess what? The people that made the game, the developers made the game, they actually listened to the people, and they brought in more and more stuff, and they're doing it more and more as we speak. So that's great. And for all the things that EA has been getting for the Star Wars franchise over the years, 2 years in a row, they've had Jedi Fallen Order and they've had Squadrons. They've done a great job with those games. Yes, we now know, as since the beginning of the year, that the Star Wars franchise is no longer a EA exclusive. But obviously, I hope they continue making games, because when they do make good Star Wars games, they make great ones. And Squadrons was fantastic. So absolutely great game. Number 6, Hades. Here's a game that came out of nowhere for me. I did not expect this game, didn't know it existed, and when it was released on the Nintendo Switch in the fall of this past year, it kind of took the internet by storm, because it was such an incredible game to play. A roguelike game taking place within Greek mythology, with incredible, beautiful graphics, this like cartoonish art style. All the characters being incredibly designed with awesome multicultural and unique perspective towards Greek mythology. And all the characters come out like just really just spectacular. And the world just is very well detailed. It's very the art style is just like so beautiful, but it's the gameplay that's even more sublime. It is just unbelievable how smooth attacking is in this game and moving in this game is. And as you play the game, just like any game that is a very difficult game, the more you play it, the better you get. And that's the thing about a roguelike. The more you play, the better you're going to get. You're going to get better the next round. You're going to be in better shape as you go on. And the fact is that as you keep going through the game, you get these buffs that make you more powerful. And as you get more powerful, you can get better. And as you get better, you're going to be doing incredible stuff. So like I started this game, I was just not doing very well at all. Within 20 hours, I was like in the zone every time, like zoom in, back and forth, destroying enemies and avoiding crazy, bullet type, bullets was like a bullet hell type shooting mechanics or things that were coming out at me, attacks and such. It was such a great thing. I really, really enjoyed it. And the fact is, they made the games that you have to beat it 10 times to get the full ending. I still haven't done that, so I still have a lot more to do in this game. But absolutely, Hades was one of my favorite titles in a long time. I love the roguelike genre, and this was definitely one of those ones that you absolutely have to play. Great game, and I hope it comes out on other systems too in the future, but definitely it's a fantastic must-own game on the Nintendo Switch. Number 5, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I'm a fan of the visual novel genre, and of course visual novel genres games tend to be mostly titles that don't have a lot of like interaction with them, and that causes a lot of problems because then you get into the question, are they really games or not? But 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim definitely does a great job of bringing in gameplay into a visual novel form. First of all, the world you explore is this beautiful Vanillaware drawn canvas that is so gorgeous. Vanillaware, of course, made games like Dragon's Crown, and that art style is brought out in an incredible way. All the characters that have been created in this game are so unique and special and so well thought out. That's something that I felt was really great about this game. Is that it had the most amazing story this year. I know a lot of people, a lot of award shows gave like Last of Us 2 as like the best story and the best, dialogue and all that stuff. I think all the people who voted for that game as best story or best narrative did not play 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, because this game absolutely had the best narrative by far. The most interesting story I've played in a video game in a long time. And you combine that with Vanillaware's great look at the characters and great look of the world, that uniqueness of that art style, with actual interaction where you're actually going around in the level and actually looking for items, and you're talking to people and you're walking around, so there's interaction there. And then they have it's very limited in scope, it's not the best thing in the world, but a mech fighting simulator type game in there too, when you're fighting aliens through the mechs. It is a definite cool thing to have that gameplay, because it takes the visual novel aspect and gives it the gameplay that it needs to be a video game. But overall, it's still, the most important thing is the story itself. And I don't even really want to talk about the story so much, because it is so unique and so interesting, and to spoil even the little bit of it would be ruining the experience. I absolutely must say that if you are interested in Japanese games, if you're interested in great stories, I implore you to pick this game up, because it is one of the best games that you will ever play. It is so unique. It is so great. Literally, no story last year, no story, not just Last of Us 2, no story last year comes as close to being a masterpiece, in my opinion, as this one was. It was that good. It's fantastic, and I loved it. And I hope more people check it out, because it's definitely well worth it. Definitely a fantastic game of 2020. Number 4, and this is where we're going to get a little bit controversial, Cyberpunk 2077. So, I played Cyberpunk 2077 for 95 hours on a launch PlayStation 4. The system that, of course, people say is, well, broken. The game is completely broken on that system. It didn't work. Everything was messed up. I played 95 hours of that game. I beat every major story quest there was. I beat almost every side quest there was. I was missing like one or two. I beat all the police missions. I discovered and went through the entire world, and I experienced all the bugs and all the glitches and all the annoying crashes. 25 of them, I think, at my count when I looked at my error list. And even with all that frustration, even with the fact that this game still needs work to be completely finished, even with the fact that I was playing it on one of the worst systems to play it on, I still enjoyed this game tremendously. The story is very interesting. The voice acting is fantastic. The world to explore, while limited at times, which is disappointing, was still absolutely enjoyable to explore. And that's the thing. When you have a great world to explore in an open world game, it makes an open world game special. And this one was very special. And then you combine it with fantastic gameplay, great gun shooting mechanics, great sword fighting mechanics. It was a ton of fun to play the game. And then you have one of the best soundtracks that's ever come out. I really love this soundtrack, and I was really glad to see CD Projekt Red release it to everyone who bought the game. It's absolutely amazing. It's just everything that comes out together in this game is really, really good. And to at least for me, the good of the game surpassed the negative aspects of it. And yet, I still feel like everyone else that I'm not playing the full, real version of Cyberpunk 2077. Perhaps, of course, when all the patches are done and when the PS5 version comes out, then it's going to be the great game that we all hope it was going to be. Obviously, PC gamers have been very happy with it for the most part, but even I've seen videos of PC gamers dealing with a lot of the bugs. But I have to just say that for me, it was a fantastic game. I loved it, even on a launch PS4. And even, a month after beating it, I'm still very happy that I played that game on PS4 and did not wait to play it later on a different system. It's a great game. Definitely wait, though, I would say, for most people until all the bugs are knocked out. But still, I think CD Projekt Red did a good job for the most part. Obviously, all the issues with the, telling the fibs a bit were not great. And having to fix this game is not a great thing either, but I still support them because I know that they're going to do a great job fixing this game, and I'm not regretting at all the money I paid for it. It was a fantastic game. I loved it. Number 3, Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme versus Maxi Boost On. Okay, that was a long title to talk about here, and technically this is one of those games that fall into that, remaster remake situation, because this game came out, I believe, in 2016 in the arcades in Japan, but only got ported to consoles last year in 2020. And this is the final version of the Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme versus game that came out in the arcades before they made Extreme Versus 2 that just came out recently. And this version is simply put the ultimate version you can get. Just like Super Smash Bros. The ultimate version of that game, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I should say, is the ultimate version of that game. This one is the ultimate version of the Extreme Versus game. You get all the mechs, you get all the characters from the Gundam series. If you want, you can buy a special version of the game with all the soundtracks from extra soundtracks from the games and the animes and the movies and all that, which is great. I mean, the game comes with a lot of music as it is, but actually buying the premium soundtrack version is really, really cool. The most important thing about this game is that, of course, it's a 2-on-2 arcade style fighting gameplay, and you pick a mech, you pick a Gundam or similar type mech in the Gundam universe, and depending on the power, your partner will have a different mech or the same mech. There'll be similar power, but they still even out, and you fight battles 2-on-2 with people on the online. And that's something I love about this game. The online is very, very good, at least in Japan. Very fast, very, very well done, no problems whatsoever, connections. I love that. It made me very, very happy. I love the fact that it really is a love letter to the entire Gundam universe. Pretty much every Gundam series that's ever existed, not just in anime, but even in comics and in books and in even like Pro models, models are represented here, and it's fantastic to see all that entire world of Gundam, represented for everyone to experience. It's an absolute must play. It is my favorite multiplayer game of the year, no doubt about it. And the fact that they released it in English in the West is great too. So if you haven't had a chance to play it, even if you're not a Gundam fan, this is a fun game. 2-on-2 fighting with mechs is always fun. And it does have a high learning curve, but once you get through that learning curve, you're in for a lot of fun. It's definitely number 3, great game. Number 2, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Well, after years of waiting, we finally got it. We finally got the Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I have to say before we go any further that for me, Final Fantasy VII has always been one of the weaker titles in the Final Fantasy series for me. I'm a huge fan of Final Fantasy VI. It's my favorite game of all time. And I've loved a lot of the games that came after it. But 7 really felt like a disappointment to me. It was a game I was really hyped for. And when it came out, it didn't really hit me in the way 6 did. Which really surprised me. I was like, why didn't Final Fantasy VII, hit me in those same like feels and moments that the 6 did when I played it the first time? And so for many years, I kind of just ignored 7 for the most part. But the remake and all the excitement for that kind of got me more interested in playing it again. And playing the remake was one of the more interesting things of gaming wise, not only this year but in recent years. First of all, just get it out of the way. The graphics are absolutely gorgeous, incredibly detailed. The world that you're in, that's just the the city there. Midgard, not Midgard. I don't know why I can't remember the name right now. But even the Shinra building and all that stuff there, it's so beautifully detailed. Every little slum and every little area that was designed that was like a little like small picture in the PlayStation version is now a full world to explore. They've expanded the story with all the characters, even adding a couple little extra new characters into the game. They expanded the lore of Final Fantasy VII. But more interesting enough, as much as the remake brought back a lot of great memories of the parts I did enjoy, this game is taking the new Evangelion movie approach and what appears to be making not a remake, but possibly a sequel to the original games. If you haven't played it, once you get to the ending, you'll probably understand that there's some major changes that have been made, and there's some major additions to this game that make you wonder, is this really not a sequel or not? Or is it a sequel? Is it a new version? So, there's something about this game that's a little off from what we expected, and that uniqueness and that surprise really caught me, because now I'm very interested to see where they're going to take it. It wasn't something I liked with the Evangelion movies. It's something I don't like with the new Evangelion movies, and I'm a huge Evangelion fan. I do not like the direction that one went, but yet Final Fantasy VII Remake, I have a very excited feel about what's to come. So definitely that's something I'm looking forward to, and hopefully we get something good sooner rather than later. But yes, Final Fantasy VII Remake is a great game and a fantastic RPG for the year. And now it's time to talk about my number 1 game of the year. And I'm sure you can figure it out if you know me very well. But if you don't, let's just say it right now. Number 1, Ghost of Tsushima. I, of course, live in Japan. I love Japan. I love Japanese history. I love Japanese culture. And to have an open world game that takes place in a classical Japanese setting, the setting of Tsushima Island during the Mongolian invasions, is a dream come true. And this game that Sony brought out is an amazing experience from the top to the bottom. An incredible graphics engine with incredible worlds created that are some of the most beautiful that I've ever seen in a video game. The colors are so vibrant and stick out that it just really just hits you in a way that very few games do. Even games like I talked about earlier, like Hades, which are very beautiful, cartoony, drawn worlds, still can't compare to this. You go to like a world, like a level in Ghost of Tsushima where there's just like all these red leaves falling, or the grass is like flowing in the wind, and so beautiful. It's so unique and different, and it's so amazing how well it runs, even on a regular PlayStation 4. I was surprised how fast it ran. Then you have the incredible samurai combat, which is a lot of fun, and the showdowns could be one swipe kill, which is fantastic. It's a little timey based, but it's still that's how it would be in real life. You gotta get the right timing for the hit. Um, I absolutely love that. I love samurai gameplay like that. Then you have, of course, the music, which is wonderful, and the story, which is very interesting. Of course, like I said, it takes place during the Mongol invasions of Japan on Tsushima Island, and pushing them back off the Japan land to try not to make sure, not try to make sure they definitely make sure that they don't invade. Now, of course, the story is kind of it's been made up where they have this like Genghis Khan cousin who didn't exist who's going to be leading the invasions. You have the main character Jin, who of course is a samurai, but he has to break away from his samurai roots and take on much more nefarious tactics in order to be able to defeat the Mongols, which of course leads to a lot of criticism and a lot of problems with the shogun on the island and all over Japan that have heard of the legend of the ghost. And while the legend of the ghost becomes this great rallying cry for the island, the reality is that those that lead to the island don't want the ghost to be the main person that's like taking all the credit, and also the fact that Jin has to give up the samurai code in the way that it's been so strict, basically, is something that's a main part of the story, and it's something that really resonates in a way that it's very interesting to see. Like this, it's very much like Japan. Like if you don't follow the rules exactly to a T, then it's bad, and it's sort of that's the way it is in this game. It's like you have to do it. You have to do it this way, and yet the samurai code says you can't. And Jin is trying to fight that. And the thing is, the people love him, but the leaders don't love him. They find him to be almost as bad in some ways as the Mongols when they look at him toward the end of the game. I know this game definitely had some people complain about Jin as the main character. I thought you have two characters there. You have him, and you have, of course, the ghost, the Ghost of Tsushima that he represents when he's fighting in that mode. And that was a great character. I thought I really enjoyed like that whole like mysticism that the people have for him. Like, oh, it's this, did you hear this legend of the ghost and what he's done for the island and everything? That was really cool. The voice acting was really nice. I actually played it in Japanese, and someone had mentioned like it kind of breaks my rule of like not playing the game in the original language, and yeah, it was something that I felt it was right to play it in Japanese. And the Japanese voice acting is really great, but unfortunately, the lip syncing is only to the English version. It would have been nice if it had been to both, but still, it's a great game nonetheless. And of course, there's a lot of cool stuff in the game, like haikus, making haikus, and going through all kinds of like challenges. It's a great open world to explore. It's so beautiful, and the game, of course, was a huge hit in Japan. It definitely sold more and better than Sony's other big title, Last of Us 2, and it really resonated with me as a Japan lover, and I just love the game in general. I thought, not even being just a Japan lover, I think it's a great game nonetheless. When I look at all the games I played last year, Ghost of Tsushima was one of those games that really stood out more than anything else. It was fantastic. It was enjoyable. It was a great experience. I loved it, and I think more people should try it out because it is really, really, really good. I don't think there was another game this past year that really hit in all the ways that this one did. And then, the best part is they came out with free DLC in October that had extra modes, extra online modes and multiplayer modes. I still haven't even played that, which is something that I think I should get to because that game was just so wonderful and I want to play it again more. So when it came down to it, it was an easy answer. Ghost of Tsushima, my game of the year. So those are my 10 games. Yeah, there were some games that were not on the list, and you probably know why, and I'm sure people will disagree with it, but these 10 games really resonated with me so much. I loved all these games this year, and each one of them was a game that I just absolutely enjoyed tremendously. These 10 games really just in some cases were big surprises. I didn't know anything about Hades, and that turned out to be a surprise. Star Wars Squadrons being as good as it was a huge surprise. Final Fantasy VII Remake, with the way they changed the story towards the end a little bit, was a surprise. Even games like Journey to a Savage Planet, something I didn't even heard of, turned out to be nothing more than just the one of the best games of the year, which is great. But yeah, this has been it was a great year for gaming, and there was a lot of stuff to enjoy. Now, next year, obviously, I'm going to have to make two lists. I'm going to have to make a Game of the Year list and the games I played in 2021 list, because, like I said, there were a lot of games that I didn't play that would have made this list if I probably played them by then. I think games like, for instance, Demon Souls would have made it, although that game was a Game of the Year for me many years ago when it was on PlayStation 3. I think the newest Assassin's Creed game would probably have been on there. I think that the Immortals would have been on there. I think even the new Call of Duty would have been on there, because I did play a little Call of Duty and I really, really liked it. So there were a lot of PlayStation 5 games I wanted to play that I couldn't. And obviously I will be getting one of those systems soon, so hopefully I can enjoy that soon. But that's just how I felt for this year. 2020 was a unique year for gaming. It was a unique year for the whole world, but it was one that I really, really enjoyed too. So if you like this video, if you have any interesting comments about it, definitely leave them below. A like and a dislike or whatever you feel is good as well. And sharing the video is wonderful too. So hopefully a lot of people will be able to see this and take my opinion for what it is, and hopefully there's a game or two on the list you didn't play that you might want to try because of what I have to say. But until next time, and hopefully it'll be sooner than that, this is me, Matt. I'm going to be signing off for now. Hope you have a great day and a great week, and enjoy gaming in 2021. And I know I will, and I know you will too. So until next time, see ya.
Thanks for watching, and tune in later this week for a very special video. No more delays, I promise. Seriously.